Another exciting episode here on the Professional Edge. My name's Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. More letters after my name than in the spelling of my name, as some people have said to me. Yes, those are credentials which take a lot of effort, basically being in college and grad school until the age of 27 with no stops in between. So when we talk about this session on what's in it for me, let's talk about doing some asset protection. What's in it for me if I do some asset protection? Well, your hard-earned labor and work to accumulate some assets are no longer exposed from the claims of a potential creditor. So when we think about that, a lot of our listeners here on the Professional Edge have places for rent. And we have this rental property, and we all know that tenants are lovely and they cause no problems. Well, therein lies the issue. A lot of individuals that we met with down here at the Cunningham Center, they have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, or multiple rental properties. And I ask them a simple question: how is that property titled? And they sort of look at me and say, well, it's in my name or in my wife and my name. And I say, okay, that's awesome. And what about your other rental properties? Well, it's the same way, and we have a deed. It's joint tenant right or survivorship. So if something happens to us, then it automatically goes to the survivor. And I say, okay, that's great. And then we do basically a balance sheet. What other assets do they own, and what liabilities do they own or owe? And from that point, then we sit back and say, okay, trained as a tax attorney and exposure to risk. We try to avoid risk. That's how we move that needle forward to gain net worth. Well, if something happens at one of those rental properties and bad things happen to good people, let's say there's a wrongful death because the gas water heater is not vented properly. Well, you, being the owner of the property, is going to be found to be negligent, and therefore you're going to be liable for that potential wrongful death claim from that tenant or the tenant's family. So let's say $1 million wrongful death claim, and your insurance on your rental property is only $300,000. That's the max policy limit. Excuse me. And when we look at that, then, well, who's going to pay that extra $700,000 for that wrongful death claim? Well, the attorney's just going to sit down and say, could you list out your assets? And guess what? That's where they're going to get the value of that $700,000 from the other assets in which you own. So what's in it for me if we do some asset protection planning? Well, what we would do is put a liability fence around each of these rental properties and do some legal work to make sure that those entities are properly structured. And therefore, if something happens at one of those rental properties, then it will not taint all the other rental properties or other assets that you own as an individual. So again, this is a wake-up call for our listeners here on the Professional Edge that not just worrying about investment rate of return or maximizing your rental income or your net rental income. Those are not, those are factors to consider, but you also got to do the worst case scenario and make sure that your assets are protected. So again, when was the last time that you did some asset protection planning? Calling your P&C carrier and making sure your policy limits are up to snuff. That's part of it. But the other part is, let's not have a bad incident taint all of your hard work for your 25 or 30 years of effort. It can happen in a blink of an eye. I'm here to tell you, we read cases on it, and it's amazing how individuals can be very financially astute on accumulating assets and net worth, but they have zero indication or zero understanding of how to protect that. So if that's of importance to you, what's in it for me, protecting your net worth, do give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. And we have that candid, confidential conversation at the Cunningham Center or in the day of Zoom meetings. We can also coordinate that. That way it's just convenient for each of us, and we have a conversation and see if there's a way to add value to what you're currently doing and protect the assets that you have worked your life for. So again, what's in it for me? Well, you get to protect your assets. That's number one. And number two, you get an objective professional opinion on how to structure things. Now, a listener here on the Professional Edge, you might be saying, hey, I don't own any rental property. I just do some HVAC service and I got trucks running around. Well, that right there is a liability 101. Each one of those trucks has a potential liability. Cell phone is in hand. They cross left to center and cause an accident. Guess what? That cell phone record will be pulled, it will be evaluated, and a texting conversation could easily be proved that right before and minutes before a conversation was going back and forth, and therefore it was distracted driving. That's negligence, and the plaintiff is easily going to win that case. So again, do we want that one bad incident on your truck driver to taint the entire HVAC business? Probably not. Well, you also got to step back and say, all right, I have my warehouse where I park my trucks and have my supplies and everything else in. And what have I done with that? Well, most of the time I see that in the owner's name or in the owner's spouse's name. And that's it. And they're not structuring things properly. They're just operating the business and not really doing much tax planning. Yeah, they've had a CPA that does the books and does the records and file the taxes, but they haven't done the actual tax planning. So again, if that's you, you have delivery trucks or you have exposure, or if you don't know if you have exposure, now what's in it for me is wake up call before it happens, because if the incident happens, you cannot transfer these assets. It's called a fraudulent conveyance. They'll set it aside. So we can't give away all your assets to your kids if something unfortunately happens, and we can't set up structures for liability protection after the incident has occurred. So what's in it for me? Do your planning now. That way it's in force and effect, and you have peace of mind. So again, to start that conversation, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. So we're done with liability protection for a second, and let's turn to a little bit of estate planning. Well, we know that the IRA is one of your largest financial assets. And with that in mind, it's controlled by the beneficiary designation. It's not controlled by your last will and testament. It's controlled by the beneficiary designation, which a majority of individuals don't recall who they placed as the primary or even a contingent beneficiary. That's the, I don't know, I would have to check sort of conversation that we have at the Cunningham Center. And that's fine. Let's check. Let's find out who it is. And the other thing is, what's in it for me? Well, you have peace of mind if your beneficiary designation is done properly, that you will not disinherit your children. And you say, scratch your head. Well, primary beneficiary is my spouse. That's fine. Contingent beneficiaries is your kids. Well, there's 3 magic words that you need to make sure is on the contingent beneficiary, because if one of your children would be in the automobile with you, and let's say the spouse, so there's husband, wife, and one of the children in the car, no one makes it home, then we need to make sure that that child share would go down to their children, meaning your grandchildren. And if 3 magic words are not on that line, then guess what? The surviving child will receive 100% of the IRA, and you would disinherit your grandchildren. Now let's think about that for a second. What's in it for me? Do you want to have the legacy of, Grandpa didn't do the planning right, and therefore all these assets went over to your uncle, and we didn't get anything for this? It can happen, and it does happen. So again, this is another thing. What's in it for me? let's make sure that your beneficiary designation on your qualified accounts, being IRAs, 401ks, Roth accounts, even insurance, annuities have beneficiary designations, to make sure that it is coordinated with your estate plan. Now, a vast majority of attorneys don't understand all the financial nuances of beneficiary designations and contingent beneficiary designations and the tax impact of the stretch IRA, which is now limited to 10 years. And then if we name the wrong beneficiary on that, we've seen multiple accounts where it's named as the estate of an IRA account owner as being the primary beneficiary. Well, as a listener here on the Professional Edge, you know that is just lighting the stick of dynamite for the tax bomb, because the shortened period of time in which you have to take that IRA out is aggressively moved forward. So we cannot do a spousal rollover IRA. So wow, let's think about that. Individual has a 401k and they put the estate of 401k owner because they just got their estate plan drafted and their estate plan says, I give everything to the surviving spouse. Great, perfect, wrong plan. So what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for me, if you did it that way, is you disallowed the spousal rollover of that IRA. Therefore, we're going to have to distribute that within 5 years, date of death. And we exploded, let's say, a $500,000 IRA. So average it out, we would have to have $100,000 of additional taxable income unnecessarily because we did it wrong, or the attorney didn't do it right, or you thought you were doing it right because you got your estate planning documents done and you were going to say, oh, the estate of, because my documents give everything to my surviving spouse. If my surviving spouse doesn't survive, then it goes to my children in equal shares. So this is where, being that tax attorney and a certified financial planner, we coordinate these things. And yes, it needs to be coordinated. And your stockbroker is not going to tell you this. The 1-800 number that you have your investments at is not going to tell you this. So what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you is there's personalized service way beyond just the asset management of your portfolio as a registered investment advisor. There is coordination when we do the estate plan for our clients and do the tax planning for them as well. So it's a unique benefit. There is one set of professionals, being your estate plan and asset protection, your financial plan, receiving investment advice and counsel on a fee basis under a fiduciary duty standard to act in the client's best interest. And then we have the estate plan coordination. Being a tax attorney, I've completed over 2,500 estate plans. I've seen it before. I've done it. And I know what to counsel clients on. So again, if you want to have that conversation, do give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. And they have everything done at one place. It's pretty substantial. It makes it convenient for the client. And yes, we do understand and know our clients. We understand the family dynamics, how to help them best and make suggestions towards that end. So again, what's in it for me? You have that personal relationship, one set of professionals that's doing your tax planning, your estate planning, your investment management. It's all coordinated to get the most out of the end result. So again, if we can save some tax money, that goes to your overall real rate of return. If we can make sure that your assets are protected as well, then an unfortunate incident may or may not happen. Hope it never happens to any of our clients or any of our listeners here on the Professional Edge. But in case it does happen, then you know you are protected as well. So we have peace of mind. So again, to start that conversation, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. The other place you want to go to is emcthebundle.com. That is Echo Mary Charlie, thebundle.com. That's where we put together an incredible offer for our listeners here on the Professional Edge to get your tax plan done, to get your retirement plan done, and your estate planning done, all at one fell swoop. And yes, it is a deep discount for our listeners here on the Professional Edge. It's over $10,000 of service, and we are offering a dramatic reduction, and that is $3,000. No hidden fees, no hidden costs, no hidden expenses. So again, check that out at emcthebundle.com. That is Echo Mary Charlie, thebundle.com. More coming up here on the Professional Edge. My name's Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Thanks for listening. More coming up.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial security. You can reach estate management counselors and speak with Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.